Good evening and welcome to the Rick McCormick Show. We're glad you're here. We talk real estate and all things real estate. A lot of good activity, man. We've had two 25-point basis drops in the last 8 or 9 weeks. We got another one coming in December. The government shutdown is over. We're going to be talking about this new 50-year mortgage tonight. We're going to talk about a name called Bill Pulte, who is the head of the FHFA, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. He is quite a player in this. We talk about Jerome Powell a lot. We're going to talk about Bill Pulte tonight. We've got some great guests, as always, joining us. Our mortgage expert, our insurance investment expert, Brad Martin, will be with us. We're talking about later. We're going to talk about the market here in Oklahoma City. But I am your host. I am Rick McCormick, and we're glad you're with us. Welcome to the Rick McCormick Show. Whether you're listening live tonight at Artist First Radio Network, we are in our 6th season of being on Artist First with the Rick McCormick Show. And here during prime time, we come to you at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time and, of course, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Wednesday evenings. And you can also catch us on the archive version here at Artist First. You can find us at Amazon Music or Apple Music. You can find us at Spotify, and you can find us on YouTube. And you can find us on my channel at CoachMac10x.com, as we have a real estate teaching and training program to try to help realtors get in this market. And we're going to talk about that some later on. I mean, right now we're in Q4, and we're about 6 weeks from the end of 2025, as crazy as that may seem. But you've got to be setting the stage and setting your goals and putting your business plan together for 2026 right now if you're in this real estate industry. But if you just want to hear about buying a home and selling a home, we got a lot of good information there too. I've written 3 different books. One about selling a home called Selling Secrets You Can't Afford to Miss, and one about buying a home, Your Guide to Purchasing a Home, authored by yours truly, by Rick McCormick. We have free Kindle digital copies of that if you'd like to reach out. The text line number is there. You can reach us at 405-310-7470 tonight with a question, or later on in the show to request a copy of one of those books. Pretty good information, particularly if you're considered buying or selling your home. And we've got a lot of strategy in there about selling the home. And talked to a homeowner yesterday, man. We had a great conversation. They'd been frustrated with the home on the market for a while and not much activity. And that happens a lot. It's really important right now that you get someone that strategically knows how to place this. I mean, Thanksgiving to Christmas is a bit of a slower time of the year, but, with that said, I was telling her in a conversation last night, we still have in the last 7 days, I've had, way over, I've had 486 closings, homes sold in our market in the last 7 days, last 5 business days. What is that, 95 a day? A little more than that. I think 95 would put us at 475. I'm at 486, so about 95 homes a day are closing. The thing you'll find about your people that go look at the home today during this time, they're very specific and they're very intentional. Sometimes in the spring when weather is real nice, you get hey, instead of going to a movie, let's go to some open houses. Hey, let's go drive around and look at some homes. But as the weather gets cooler, you get to the holidays, you've got a more intentional and more specific buyer out there. And so homes are coming on the market every day. Homes are selling every day. There's still a lot of action, a lot of activity. But we're going to, in the first segment of the show tonight, talking about the NAR, the National Association of Realtors National Convention, took place last week, and actually late last weekend. And they had some interesting, like I said, they do a lot of research, got a lot of a lot of well-paid people on their staff. And that they feel like their overall is that we're going to see what they called a little better housing market in 2026, and they had some statistics from last year to this year and so on that the mortgage rate overall for this year, for 2025, has been an average of 6.7. They think that's going to go down about 3/4 of a point, and they're projecting that we'll close next year at 6.0 flat. So while we've been closer to 7 this year, they say we're going to dip into the 5 some and average about 6. In fact, the projection in 2025, existing home sales grew 0%. They stayed flat. New home sales went down 2%. So the mortgage rate averaged 6.7. So for 2026, they're projecting that existing home sales will go up 14% and new home sales will increase 5%. That the average interest rate will be 6% flat, whereas this year it was 6.7. The increase, they're saying a median home price is going to go up about 4% year over year, which for October's median prices, that would push home prices up about $15,000 as we would see there. So we've got that from the NAR and Lawrence Yun. He forecasts a 14% increase in 2026 is his projection from existing home sales, 5% on new home sales, and interest rates to improve. Mortgage applications are starting to increase, and like I said, the thing about this time of year, people spend a lot of time at home, a lot of time on the computer during Thanksgiving, during Christmas. There's more time at home right now than any other time of the year. And so a lot of those people are setting their sights on January 1, and like I said, we have a little more intentional buyers when we do have people out this time of year. So NAR convention, they have a positive outlook. A lot of conversation has been going on about this 50-year mortgage. And the person heading the FHFA, that's the agency that oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, usually doesn't get that person. In years past, if I said, okay, who is the head of FHFA? I would have had people, well, let's back up. What is FHFA? What is that? What is that aim? What do they do? And who is the person ahead of that? Well, many people couldn't have told us what that acronym stands for or the function of the FHFA. And even more people would not be able to tell us who heads that agency up. Right now, that person is named Bill Pulte, and he's became kind of prominent, kind of front and center for a number of reasons. There's been some mortgage fraud identified by several people. And I'm going to let later, in a few minutes, I'm going to let our mortgage expert, Kendall Dexter, talk about how this mortgage fraud, New York Attorney General Letitia James, who was adamant about prosecuting Donald Trump. Another California Senator, Adam Schiff. A person on the Federal Reserve Board, one of the Federal Reserve Board governors, Lisa Cook. And now, more recently, a California Representative, Eric Swalwell. All these people name has been brought up on mortgage fraud. And I'm going to let Kendall Dexter explain that. I currently own a home that I live in. I currently have 3 other properties that I don't live in, that I own. And if I said any of those others, it would be untrue. I could only have one primary residence. I can only live in one house. But if I say some other house, I'm going to get much more favorable terms. much better interest rate than if it's a secondary property. And so let me first bring on Brad Martin, our good friend, the owner at Premier Insurance, and the also local businessman, investor. He's got a hand in a lot of different things. Brad, first of all, great to have you on again as always, and let our listeners draw on your expertise and knowledge.
Yeah, great to be here. Beautiful day in Oklahoma for mid-November, and love being a part of this show and talking all things real estate and investing. So thanks for having me.
You bet. I mean, I think it hit 73 today in mid-November. I mean, just a gorgeous day for this time of year. You're exactly right. And that's why we all love living here, man. I mean, it's just a great, we've had great weather here in recent times. But Brad, and we didn't spend a lot of time in studio rehearsing this, but tell our listeners a little bit about what you know about this guy, Bill Pulte, who's the head of the FHFA.
Yeah, I mean, definitely someone that has his hands from his past background in, real estate, like a lot of us do. And, he's someone that spent a lot of time doing investments, got a ton of investment companies, predominantly in private equity, and then was tapped by President Trump to come in and head up the FHFA, Federal Housing Agency, and has honestly come in over the past couple of years and really over the past 6-7 months and made a huge impact in some of these fraud cases that you alluded to earlier, where people are saying that this is their primary home when potentially, I don't think it's actually been proven yet in the court of law, but potentially it might not be their primary home. And, Kendall's the expert, but to me, that reeks of fraud. And so I think the problem on this is there's a lot of predominant people, high influential people that have been saying this that are getting caught. And man, it's going to be an interesting ride over the next few months, kind of watching that unfold.
Well, absolutely. And I just, we've got joining us now also the owner of Security Financial Mortgage and regular guest, Kendall Dexter. Kendall, thanks for being with us once again as we dive into this. But so our format here, I want to get right into this. I talked about as you were in the studio, the National Association of Realtors, and they're projecting a better housing market in 2026, and then a far better one, a great one in 2027. And it's easy to project, but they're talking about they expect home sales to go up 14% on existing homes, 5% on new homes. And then we've got this whole thing of we're going to talk about the 50-year mortgage, but Bill Pulte, and these several of the people I named, the four there in particular, they have on mortgage fraud. Explain a little bit to our listeners. I mean, and like I said, I have a primary home, and my mortgage is, X. When I go buy a second property, I don't get those same favorable terms that I have on my first property. And now, in this one case, the Attorney General of New York, she works in New York. And she has got a home in, I think, North Carolina, maybe Virginia, I think it's North Carolina, that a relative lives in, that she's claimed as her primary home. I mean, she can say whatever. I mean, to me, from what I've seen, she's dead to right. I mean, that's an out-and-out fraud. Now, these boys that live in California but also work in Washington, D.C. as representatives, as congressmen, maybe they could make a case that they live two places. So it'll tell us how all this works, what it means, how are the terms different, and can you have two primary residences? So break this down for us.
Yeah, no problem. You cannot have two primary residences, even if you legitimately live in both. One is your primary, and one is your secondary residence. It can only qualify as a secondary residence if you do not make money from it, and you live there sometimes, but less than half of the year. So that no matter what, the year doesn't split directly in half. You can't go 182.5 at one house and 182.5 at another. Because of the way the calendar works, you definitely have a primary residence, and then you can have a secondary residence. Now, they've kind of cleared this up at the Fannie Mae level in recent times because they changed it to where the secondary residence gets priced like an investment property. So there's really no value in lying about that anyway. The only difference is you can put down 10% instead of 20. So for me, if, say, Lisa Cook, her family lives at this other property, if she goes there sometimes and she lives at the other house that is her primary, it should have been a secondary residence. Unless she's making money off of it, then it's an investment property. So for me, either way, it would be technically fraud if you say it's going to be your primary. But then it's going to come down to who originated this file, who underwrote the file. Was she lying, or are they all in cahoots to get this deal done as a primary when it's clearly not her primary? So there's a lot of details that can come out on these deals, and a lot of their culpability comes down to, did they lie? Did they tell the truth, and they were led to this fraud by the professionals involved? And it's just really bad news for everybody. And go ahead.
So they have got problems, but you're saying maybe there's a mortgage person or a lender, someone like yourself, that participated in this or potentially could have guided them through this? Is that what I'm hearing?
There's a big difference between me originating a file where I know I'm doing the wrong thing and I tell somebody, hey, let's just do it as a primary, we'll get you better terms, and you can put less down or whatever the case, versus somebody lying to me and there is no evidence to be able to uncover the lie, and we closed it thinking that it was actually her primary residence, and then it turns out it's not. Big difference.
Hey, kiddo, and who's ultimately responsible? In the insurance world, we put down the information you give us, but you are ultimately responsible. If you tell me your roof is a brand new roof, we put it down, we send the application back to you. It's your responsibility to make sure we check all the right boxes and say all the right things. In this case, is it the mortgage professional's responsibility, or is it the client, even if it's not anything illegal, but if they just, for some reason, put that it was my primary, but it wasn't because somebody heard one thing and did another? Where does the culpability fall?
It depends on what occurred. So in the situation where they tell me the truth and we manipulate the information to make it appear that it's a primary when it's not, then it's on me. And it's like a CPA cheating on taxes better, more than a regular guy that might just mess up his taxes or could claim ignorance. You know better, you're the pro. But if you're lied to and you did your due diligence gathering the proper information and the lie was not exposed based on data collected, then it's going to be on the borrower for lying and committing mortgage fraud, and not on the professional who is not a detective. We gather the proper information. If we are burying information to make this happen, then it's on the mortgage professional. And if it is that the borrower is not telling you the truth and you were unable to uncover the deceit, then it's on them 100%.
Interesting.
Okay, so what would the interest rate be, Kendall? I mean, because obviously this is what's going on. They're trying to get better terms, a better rate. So a primary interest rate versus what should have been an investment property or a second home. What are we looking at here?
Let's go ahead and just use a real-world example where this week we have locked 6.49 as low as 6.125 on a conventional 30-year fixed primary. And just yesterday, we locked 7.625 on an investment property with just 15% down. So, which you take a little hit for deciding to put down only 15%. We can do that. So if you're looking to buy an investment property, we can do it with 15% down. But we're talking about
so the difference in 6.125, 6 1/8, versus 7.625 if you're totally legit telling the truth.
And what's the value in that, especially for somebody that is a finance professional that has likely millions of dollars, or a politician who is a relative fat cat compared to the general public? Why would they take this kind of risk to save 1.5 points, on their home purchase, and it equates to a few $100s a month when you've got, your profession is in politics or in finance, and you've got plenty of money? It just makes no sense to me that the juice is not worth the squeeze 100%.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because Brad, based on, again, we're not, it'll go to courts, whatever, but, this is with Bill Pulte, director of the FHFA. It was appointed by President Trump just in March of this year. And he's a very astute businessman. He had Pulte Capital Partners, an investment firm focused on housing and building projects. He's went in and developed, done a lot of building, and is a very astute, smart businessman and real estate guy. But it seems that in his position, he's came across all kinds of various fraud and fraudulent deals. And, of course, I've seen on TV, well, they just checked the wrong box somewhere. And I want to cringe because, Kendall, that's clearly not the case. I'll come back to Kendall. But, Brad, what kind of to Kendall's point, it would appear that these people are intelligent enough people that they knew exactly what they were doing. They're just simply trying to get better terms and better rates. And like Kendall said, what are they saving? $150 a month, $300 a month. What do you see as it appears they're guilty, Brad, and what's the logic behind this?
Yeah, logic, who knows? It's one of those, you see people do a lot of stupid things for greed and for a lot of crazy reasons, and that kind of seems to be this case. As Kendall alluded to, this appears to be people that have means, have knowledge. They should definitely have guidance, whether that's from a lender, an attorney, a CPA, an accountant, whomever, that is coaching them a little bit on these kind of things so they don't get in these type of issues. And to do it to save a couple $100, that to me is as foolish and dumb as it gets. But that's also some of the things that we see in life over and over again that just makes zero sense. And to me, I don't know why you would put yourself up for this. One of the questions, Kendall, I would have is, what's the likelihood? Do these audits happen a lot? Or is it just a random audit and Bill went in there and started doing some digging, his team, and said, hey, here we go? Or how often do these things get uncovered, and probably how many more of them are like this out there?
There's a lot of mortgage fraud going on right now, especially with how hard the business has been the last 3 years with the slow markets all over the country. But so they'll do random audits, but this is absolutely targeted auditing against the enemies of Donald Trump. If you find yourself on the other end of the barrel of Donald Trump pointed at you, you're in big trouble, because they're combing through these people to see what they can uncover, and what they found is this. So this probably goes if Trump loses the election, this goes undetected, not a concern for anybody. Nobody's looking at it unless it becomes a subject of a very random mortgage audit. So for me, this is it's political. But if what they're saying is true, it's also they got you. You did the wrong thing. You did the wrong thing, and they busted you.
Wow. You feel like this didn't just, you start looking at some things and this pops up. They tell you like the originally the first one, I think the Lisa Cook, the governor of the Federal Reserve, that was an anonymous source. So, Kendall, you're saying you think these were clearly targeted?
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa Cook and the other people we're talking about all had something against Donald Trump, or he has something against them. They don't like each other. It is clearly not a coincidence that this has come up. If had they done some other wrongdoings, that would have come up because they've got the disposal of the CFPB, the FBI, the CIA, you know what I mean? They've got a lot of power, and they'll uncover whatever you may have done and bring you to justice if that's what the president wants.
Okay, all right. We're going to go to a break here in the next few minutes, but the next thing I want to dive into, and Brad, the 50-year mortgage. Bill Pulte on November 8th indicated that he, along with the Trump administration, was working on a plan to introduce a 50-year mortgage. Right now, we've had how long has a 30-year mortgage been around, Kendall? I mean, is it throughout our lifetimes?
Yeah. To the best of my knowledge, that it started under FDR, like a long time.
Roosevelt, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it seems that from an initial conclusion that it has marginal to limited. Okay, it's going to lower a payment on a $300,000 to $400,000 house $200 or $300 a month. But your aspect of what I always encourage people to do is, hey, let me help you. It's going to change the trajectory of your life. This is the way you build wealth. Well, you're going to build wealth at a very marginal, at a very slow status with a 50-year mortgage. And I know Kendall and I were looking at some numbers before we went on. I'll let him talk about those after we come back from break. But you're going to pay on a $300,000 home, Brad, if you kept it the entire time we're looking at, you'd pay $300,000 more with a 50-year mortgage than you do with a 30. So, Brad, we're going to get Kendall's dive into this deep, but on the front end, there are some benefits that might put more people in a home, but man, it seems like they're marginal. I mean, what do you think, Brad?
Yeah, definitely marginal. I think all it does is it's smoke and mirrors. It sounds good on paper when you first hear it, but then when you do the math, Coach, like you and Kendall did, and you present it to someone, say you're going to pay $300,000 more. By the way, you're already paying a lot of money in interest. When you do a 30-year mortgage versus a 15. So if you're paying $300,000 more, wow.
Which for simple math, these are not exact. Okay, so if you're listening, don't send me a deal. I understand they're not exact, but basically it's simple math. $300,000 home, 30-year mortgage, you pay about $600,000 total, a little more. A 50-year mortgage, you pay about $900,000 total, a little more. So yeah, that's some of the math on it. So, and then. So we want to dive in a little more to that. Because the only way, to me, that if somehow the 50-year mortgage, it would seem to be a higher risk. So it's going to probably have a higher interest rate. If it somehow had a much lower interest rate, it really got the payment down there, then maybe. But without it, Kendall, wouldn't you project a higher interest rate on the 50-year than a 30-year?
No question. It's the same as the 15 to the 30. So if they've come out with now right now you can still get a 40 at the same rate as you can get a 30. So maybe they'll present it at the same rate. But even if they do, it's a terrible deal. You're saving, like you said, 6% interest, $300,000. You're saving $220 a month, and you're paying $300,000, almost to the dollar, $300,000 more over the term. And when you look at it, you're saving, let's say you go 20 years in. On the 30-year note, you owe $162. On the 50-year note, 20 years in, you owe $263. So you owe $101,000 more, and the monthly savings has saved you $48,000. Just the way that the amortization works, it makes absolutely no sense. And honestly, anybody that knows anything about mortgage loans has been butchering this idea from the get-go, and Trump kind of backed off of it pretty quick. He's like, hey, it's no big deal. It's just an idea. It's a terrible idea. If you got any good ideas, let us know.
Okay. I like that. Bill Pulte presented it to Donald Trump, and I think Trump immediately jumped on and said, okay, now as we start to analyze it, like, maybe not. The best way, before we go to break, like I said, remember you heard it here first, and it's maybe not rocket science, but we all three agree. Brad Barton, Kendall Dexter, and Rick McCormick, the best way to spur the housing industry and help people is to lower the doggone interest rates, period. And if that takes getting Jerome Powell out, let's get him out in May. Let's get somebody else in, and let's rock and roll. I mean, get these interest rates down a point, get them to 5 flat, get them into 4s, get them to 4.5, 4.75. That will spur housing. And Kendall, that helps people drop the payment the same $200 that we're talking about the 50-year mortgage, doesn't it?
Exactly. Like, you keep the rates the same, and you could pay it for 50 years, or you lower them 1.5 and you've saved that money right there.
That, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, that is the answer, not the 50-year mortgage. Get the doggone interest rates down and get them down significantly, not a quarter point, not an eighth of a point. Get them down 1.5. Get them down there starting with a 4, and there will spur the housing industry. Okay, you're listening to the Rick McCormick Show, and the best is yet to come.
Hey, it's Coach Mack. If these chats are inspiring you to level up your real estate game, tap follow or subscribe right now so you never miss the next one. You'll get a notification as soon as new episodes drop. Easy as that. Let's jump back into the show.
Good evening and welcome back to the Rick McCormick Show. Let's go back to this 50-year mortgage. Give us the numbers. $300,000 home. What is the payment right now on a 30-year mortgage at the interest rates you can give, 6 1/8, 6 1/4, whatever? And what would it be on the same interest rate on the 50-year? Let's hear it.
Okay, so I ran these numbers borrowing $300,000. I did this the day they brought up the 50-year note because I knew it was ridiculous. So I did it borrowing $300,000 at 6%. I did principal and interest only. So we're not talking, is there PMI? How much are the taxes? How much is the insurance? Just principal and interest at 6%. Principal interest payment on $300,000, 30 years, $1,798. 50 years, $1,579. And just for kicks, since you guys were talking 15-year, even though you would get a better rate, I'll just do it at 6%. 15 years, that payment is $25.31. So, but just between the 50 and the 30, you're saving $219 a month on the 50-year, which equates to $13,100 a year. And as you break it down, going down the first 5 years, it keeps it pretty close. You owe $279 on the 30-year. You owe $294 on the 50, and you've saved $13,000 in payments. So it's only a couple $1,000s to the bad, but it starts to get pretty bad going from there, where when you get to 15 years down the road, $213,000 you owe on the 30, $276 you owe on, so you owe 63 more, and you've saved 13,000 a year times 13,000 over 5 years times 3. So you've netted a loss there of 14. And then if you get to the 20-year mark, you'll 101, like I said before the break, 101,000 more. You've saved 48,000 in payments. So the net negative after a 20-year period is 53,000, and you're coming down the home stretch on this 30. After 30, you have no more payment. There's no more savings monthly after 30, assuming that you go through an entire 30-year note and pay it off. There's no more savings monthly because you wouldn't have a monthly payment on the 30-year note, but you got 20 years to go on the 50. So just absurd.
I've got some numbers here on 400,000, and I have just not the payment, just the, but it, if you a $400,000 home, and it's by percentage, the monthly payment, and this is based on a 6.4 interest rate, but the monthly payment is going to be 9% less. But the problem is this: after 10 years of ownership, like you said, you owe on the 50-year mortgage, you paid the balance down $15,300, Brad. On a conventional 30-year, you paid it down $61,800. So one of the purposes of owning a home is a place to live, but also a way to develop equity and develop wealth and whatever. You're not developing a lot of wealth after 10 years on this $400,000 home, and you've got $15,300 of equity. I mean, and it gets Worse is, 20 years on the 50-year mortgage, I'm showing you paid it down $44,000. The 30-year mortgage, you paid down $178,000. I think while on the initial deal, like, hey, if we do this and the payment's lower, we get more people in a home, maybe it sounds good, but it's not. Boy, I know of too many financially sharp people that are going to line up and say, yeah, this just really seems like a great idea. Brad,
yeah,
I mean, there's not. I guess basically the negative seems to far outweigh the positive.
Absolutely. I look at that, and as Kendall kind of alluded to earlier, I don't see this getting past anything other than just a lot of coffee talk conversations that are happening like this one right here, just because mathematically it is such a bad deal. It really does not benefit anybody at all, short-term or long-term. And as you talked about, Coach, most people, their personal residence is the biggest asset they own. That is their generational or their wealth-building machine. I buy this house, I pay off the mortgage, I live in it through the retirement years, and I can not have to worry about where I'm going to sleep at night. When you put something like this, a 50-year mortgage, even if you start at 20, buy your house at 20, and you stay in that same house, which most people do not, man, you're never, by the time you're 70, you finally paid that thing off. And oh, by the way, you paid $300,000 more in these examples that we've given. It makes no sense at all. And honestly,
across America, to that point, the mean figure is 12 years. Is how long people stay in a house. Not the average, but the mean is 12 years. So, yeah, I mean, hardly anyone is staying 30. And certainly, you got to hope you be young and live long enough to pay 50s. Anyway. Interesting. Bill Pulte, look up the name. I mean, I think sharp guy, smart guy. I think this is, as Brad said, is kind of came a conversation over coffee, but not real practical. I think
he obviously does not know anything about home loans. He might be a good capital investment guy or whatever the case, made millions and millions of dollars owning Pulte Capital, but he's head of Fannie Mae and he doesn't understand mortgage loans. So that is a weird deal. I would encourage people to try to find a spot to get into a 15-year note as opposed to a 30, not the other way around. I'm not trying to say, hey, let's go 40, let's go 50. Let's see if we can go 15 and collect that lower interest rate, especially when they come down. When my clients that we're going to refinance in the coming year, hopefully, we're going to see how they feel about a 15-year payment at something under 5%. As opposed to extending the term. Let's build that equity quicker, pay less interest. And we've had so many clients that now have $100,000 or more dollars because of home equity that they never would have saved otherwise. But it's because they got into that house, they started building equity, and now they got a big nest egg, and the 50-year note will eliminate that a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, speaking of equity, I'm gonna move a conversation back to our local market here in our remaining segment, which I usually open with. But hey, great thing about shows, you never know what hot topics are. I mean, I thought it was important we talk about the NAR meeting and about Bill Pulte and about the FHFA and about the 50-year mortgage. But equity, I've got a buyer. We talk a lot on here. I know people may hear this and not think that we're being hyperbolic or whatever, but we've got a buyer right now. Got his appraisal back today. I'd negotiated the deal for him, and we'd gone back and forth and didn't know if we was going to be able to make it work, but I did. And he got the appraisal back today, and he's got $20,000 more than what he's paying for the house. He's walking through the door with a $20,000 equity, and he was pretty happy. And that's where you want to be. And we talk a lot about the right kind of real estate team and the right kind of realtor, and that's what that we have here myself, and I handle this one myself. It wasn't anybody on the team, and we're able to do this quite often. And he's super excited. I mean, we bought a house 3 years ago. He's going to sell it for $50,000 more than we paid for it. And now he's buying, and he's got $20,000 of equity. So Kendall, did you actually, I know you guys communicated. Did you speak with him today? Because he was super fired up.
Oh, man, yeah. And let me tell you something about these appraisals, too. They hit the number on the nose about 90% of the time. Sometimes comes in low. That is a huge red flag, and you got to renegotiate. Sometimes they come in high, and that's because they had no choice. In this type of scenario where you're getting a 430 appraisal on a 410 purchase, they probably tried to keep it down. If he was buying this for 450, it probably would have appraised. So tremendous work, and the Gamble family is going to profit from hiring the right realtor to get the job done.
Well, I appreciate that, and like I said, they are super excited about it. Now, let's talk about the market. I mean, it does get slower between Thanksgiving and Christmas. We are late in Q4, but as I look at the numbers, we've still got a lot of activity going on. In the last 7 days, last 5 business days, I've had 489 closings, almost 100 a day, guys. Over 95 a day are still closing right here in our market, here in Oklahoma City. New listings, I've had 670 new listings come up. I've had, as far as things go pending, I've had over 600 pending, 628 pending. I'm talking the last 7 days. As you hear about this and you talk to your neighbors and your friend at church, there's no real estate happening. Well, I think what we'll find is right now, the people that are out there are a little more specific, a little more intentional. When the weather's nice in May, sometimes people, hey, instead of going to an afternoon movie, let's just go drive around and look at some houses. Let's go to some open houses. I mean, but right now, I think the people that are out there, as the weather's cooler and we're in the holidays, are more intentional, more serious, more specific, more directed into that. So we still have quite a few. Are things a little better during the summer in our market? They are. But we still got almost 100 closings a day. I talked to someone last night, had a great talk, a lady that had frustrated that her house didn't sell. And we were talking about it. I said, hey, let's talk about let me come and handle it. Let me come and list it. And I think you'll see a different result. We've been able to be successful many times where other people have not. I can refer you to dozens of people that would bear this out and verify this. And it's about your marketing. It's about your advertising. I talked about the way the house was presented. I talked about the photos and some different things. And it's an area out near Lake Thunderbird where she's got some wildlife. I said, why? I mean, she showed me some pictures of deer and turkey. I said, why aren't some of these pictures in your presentation? Why do you have a picture in there? You've got a brand new air unit out there, right? I said, why is there an old picture of like a window air conditioning unit in the house? See, well, we took that out. I said, okay, why is the picture? I mean, I was just talking about the presentation, what's written. I mean, so there's a method to selling. There's a method to helping buyers, and it is right now the absolute prime time in our market. Well, there's still 100 closings a day going on. There's still over 100 properties a day coming on the market. It's still a pretty active time. Now let's talk about overall inventory real quick, and I'll let you guys comment about this whole thing. Our inventory is high. Get with the right people, and you can still, you should be able to get a pretty good situation. You get with the right realtor, you get with us, and we're still in a buyer's market. Our inventory is not quite as high as it was. We came on here some nights at 8,900. We're at 8,700 right now. Still way above what was our normal at 6,000. But just as far as time of the year, what are your thoughts on that? Kendall, you've been around this business a lot. In fact, nationally, mortgage applications, they say, are starting to pick up right now.
They are. We're seeing it in our office. People are probably listening to the show and understanding that now is the time to buy. We've been saying it for years. Ever since the rates started going up, the buyer's market started developing. It's coming to an end. So, to say that this is not the premier time to buy is not correct, in my opinion. It is the best time to buy. You can't go backwards, or else I'd say a couple of years ago was the best time to buy. Now is the best time to buy, and we'll refi it later. We'll get these better rates. Don't wait for appreciation to take you out of the market or for competition to cost you getting your house. You've got now a very calm moment to look around at houses, find the right one, get with Rick. He's got the power to negotiate on your behalf because of the market. When other people are interested in the house and there's people all over looking at houses, and it lessens the realtor's opportunity to negotiate you a good deal.
Our inventory right now is 8,718 properties right now as we speak. Prior to COVID, our normal was 6,000-ish. We're up high, but like I said, what do you need to sell? It can still be done, and definitely we're in a buyer's market. Is Brad still in studio, or is he off the headset?
No, I'm here.
Like
I'm here.
Oh, okay, Brad. Yeah, Brad. Well, I mean, what time of year? What are your thoughts on that? Because everybody says, well, we've closed. I've got 2 closings the week after Thanksgiving. That first week of December, one December 3rd, December 5th. I've got a great listing at Edmond, Oklahoma, coming up next week at 469. It's in a great area that we're going to be putting everything together next week, and that Monday, December 1st, right after Thanksgiving, we're going to pop that up. I mean, we got things coming and going every day. What are your thoughts, Brad? I mean, when you hear, like today, it reached 79 degrees. It's 60, we said 68, 69 degrees right now. It's a gorgeous day and a gorgeous evening. It does get dark a little sooner, but I mean, it's still is this a prime time for real estate? I don't know that I would say that, but is there things happening daily? Absolutely.
To your point, is it prime time? No. But is it dead? Of course not. Statistics and the numbers are telling you there are still a lot of transactions happening. There are still a lot of people looking. I think that can be coupled with a ton of different reasons. One of them being, obviously interest rates. The other being the fact that, as Kendall alluded to, we've been saying this over and over and over again on this show. We were the first to talk about it is, these rates, while they're going up, that's going to limit buyers. Go ahead and buy the house and refinance it with Kendall and his team to get you a better deal if you can. I think people are starting to listen to it. And when you have great weather like we're having, people are getting out more and more and seeing it. And so all the things just point to, this is still a buying opportunity. Be out there, be actively looking, and the shameless plug. And it's only a shameless plug because it actually is true. Coach Mac does a great job working for his clients. None of us would be here if it was not true. It is true. You do a good job, Coach, in working for your clients and getting the best deal. And right now, those deals are still happening. And so people, if you're in the market to buy or sell, you need to be talking to an expert.
Well, I appreciate it. We work very hard at it. Let's finish up here in our last couple minutes talking about the great Oklahoma City area. We got the University of Oklahoma, who's had 2 great wins the last 2 weeks at Tennessee and at Alabama. And right now, when the college football playoffs start, if they keep pushing through, we're going to have a home game right here, guys. And while that's going on, I mean, we got the 14-1 Oklahoma City Thunder and, the best team in the NBA, and haven't come close to playing at full force. The number 2 player hasn't touched the floor yet. And we are number 2 in the NBA in most missed games due to injury, but yet are dominating the league. Talk real quick, Brad, take a minute and talk about, what cool thing. What a great area. And don't ever think that playoff game and that on ABC TV here does not help our area, along with what's going on downtown and building a new arena and having the best team in the NBA. If both of those things, it looks like they are going to happen, that we're going to have the best record in the NBA. We got OU with a home playoff game and playing for a national championship, or at least in the bracket in the tournament to play. What are your thoughts on that whole thing, Brad? It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. For sports fans out there like the 3 of us are, what is happening right now in the city is unbelievable. You have a lot of great stuff. The Thunder, it is impressive to watch them win, and honestly watch them win in 3 quarters, because they're sitting their starters. SGA is averaging 30 points without playing in the 4th quarter for predominantly most of the season.
You're exactly right.
Very impressive.
31.9 points per game, and he's set in 9 of 15 fourth quarters. He has not touched the floor. But, yeah, great point.
Yeah,
Great
and then
point.
you got OU doing what they're doing, which is we thought after Mateer got hurt, go play the Texas game. It was not his best game by any stretch of the imagination, but to see kind of how they've had a couple good games recently. Now, the biggest thing for OU, as an OU fan, Kendall, you can talk to this a little bit more, is you can't have the letdown, and this is a trap game coming up this weekend. Then you got LSU, and so OU's got to take care of business, but they've definitely shown a little light in the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Kendall, we got about 1 minute left. What are your give us your thoughts?
All right. So first of all, this is my best sports year, ever. I've already won an NBA title. We're 14-1, right? We're going to defend the title. Oklahoma's going to make the playoff more than likely. If they don't, it's a huge disappointment at this point. This defense is incredible. Oklahoma has got to put a little bit more offense with the defense in order to compete in this playoff, but I think the defense alone can get them there. And my Bears are first in the NFC North, which is out of nowhere. I don't think that's going to hold, but I'm going to talk about it while it lasts. But great sports year, especially for our local area. We got one of the greatest teams of all time in the NBA. And that's the next conversation that's going to happen, is not talking about are they going to win it this year. How do they stack up against the greatest teams of all time?
Wow, that's just makes me shiver to think. And but great stuff. But I want to thank you, all of our listeners, for being here. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Kendall. If you come into town, if you're listening from out of town, reach out. Got the thing called the Thunder Layup Lounge. Got the best short-term rental Airbnb going about 10 minutes from downtown that we own and run. Got people in it tonight. In fact, we got people in it every night here for the next couple of weeks, and we'd love to host you as well. We got a lot of things going on here. Thank you for being with us. We're here on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, talking real estate, all things real estate at the Rick McCormick Show. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Kendall, and thank you, our listeners. Until next time, stay safe, and may God bless.